Actually, number one that causes anxiety, and I'm sure it's no surprise to you and a lot of you guys listening, is refined sugar.
Welcome to the Food Matters Podcast, your home for health and wellness. My name is James Colquhoun, filmmaker and founder of foodmatters.com, and I am your host on this journey to inner and outer transformation. Before we dive into today's episode, I want to take a short moment to talk to you about the Food Matters Nutrition Certification Program, because studying nutrition completely changed my life. It helped me to heal my father, get him off 6 different medications, lose 50 pounds, and completely regain and transform his life and health. But the problem is that we're not really taught about nutrition in our schooling system. The medical profession is rarely pronouncing the facts of using nutrition as medicine. And we have a fast food industry that thrives off misleading consumers. So if you're looking to learn about how to use nutrition as medicine to either heal yourself or a loved one or help prevent chronic disease, or you want to take that next step on your study and nutrition journey and become a certified nutrition coach, then the Food Matters Nutrition Certification Program is for you. This is a 10-week or self-paced, internationally accredited certification program designed to take you through some of the most important topics on the latest research when it comes to nutrition and natural healing, including gut healing, autoimmune conditions, balancing hormones naturally, detoxification, biochemical individual approaches to nutrition. Plus, it brings together the best that we know about nutrition science and anthropological research, and bringing these two approaches together to help you cut through the confusion about what to eat and what to avoid for optimum health. To find out more about the Nutrition Certification Program, plus to download your curriculum guide, head to foodmatters.com/study. You can pause this right now. It will only take you 30 seconds. That's foodmatters.com/study, or you can head to the show notes for more information. Have a beautiful day. Liana, so where are you coming from right now?
Hey, so thanks for having me. I'm coming from Mexico. I'm actually at the Sana Viv Medical Center. So I'm doing a rejuvenation here, and I just love it. It's so nice and sunny, and the food is just next level, organic from garden to table.
Beautiful. Amazing. So one of the first, books you wrote about was about a natural diet. The next book was about cancer, and your sort of most recent book, I'm probably missing some in the middle there, but is around anxiety, which is really close to my heart. My father suffered from anxiety, panic attacks. He'd been hospitalized at times because of them, and lots of different medications. And I know that a lot of people suffer from anxiety. In the research you've done looking at the connection between diet and panic attacks or anxiety, what have you found to be correlating with this?
Yeah, I found food is related to everything. So food is mood, and we are what we eat, which will stand true forever. So there are certain foods that have been proven by science to be called anxiogenic. And not a lot of people know about this, but these food groups, they produce anxiety. So it doesn't matter who you are or how healthy you are, when you eat foods that are anxiogenic, it will produce anxiety in your body, in your nervous system, your brain. You will experience it. And then the opposite also exists. So when you eat certain foods that are anxiolytic, those foods help to relieve anxiety and reduce anxiety. So there are a lot of people out there thinking, oh my gosh, my anxiety is so high, what's wrong with me? Well, it could just be that you're eating a bunch of anxiogenic foods, you're eating the wrong foods that are triggering your nervous system and your brain. And so very connected. And there's a ton of studies on this too. It's fascinating. That's why I wrote an entire book on it, Anxiety Free with Food. And it's a bestseller. And because it has so much science, and it just shows us. One of the most interesting studies that I found was Dr. Mark Hyman also talks about this study, is that when they did some studies in places, in towns in America where they had the highest crime rates. And what they found was that these people were eating more fast foods, more processed foods than the average person. Wow. And so now they've proven that these foods, they cause a lot of aggression and a lot of anger and a lot of mental stress, including depression and anxiety. And so that's why staying away from these fast foods, processed foods, trans fats is crucial. And, I used to be a junk food addict, which I talk about in my first book, The Earth Diet. And so I get it, right? I lived off junk food every single day, every single meal. I went with whatever I was craving. I would eat McDonald's, I would eat Pizza Hut for lunch, I would eat KFC for dinner. And so I was very addicted to these things. And I thought, I was craving the fat, I was craving fats. And so a lot of people are out there craving fats, but instead of going to the healthy fats, they're fulfilling it with the unhealthy fats that are doing a lot of damage to the nervous system and to the brain.
Yeah, look, fat has gotten a bad rap in the 80s, and then everything went fat free, which was like the pendulum swung in the wrong direction, and then we're on all these high carb, like processed carb diets. And now it's sort of a little bit of a renaissance for fat. We're seeing fat get a little bit more of the limelight it deserves. We've got some of the research from people like Udo Erasmus and Fats That Heal, Fats That Kill. I'm sure you're familiar with that book, coming sort of back into the fray, more people talking about that, and certainly more people becoming comfortable with good quality fat. And I think that the voice is getting louder for, refined vegetable oils, refined seed oils being used in so many different processed foods. And I'm definitely seeing this sort of trend as something that people are becoming more aware about. What is the problem with these refined seed oils, in terms of its impact on the body and in connection with depression or anxiety?
Yeah, they're really bad fats. Their omegas are out of balance. So let's take sunflower seeds, for example. Sunflower seeds naturally are very healthy, and the sunflower oil that you're eating from the seeds is healthy, and it's also in balance, it's in moderation. But to take then the sunflower seeds or even roasted sunflower seed butter, even the oils in that is balanced and healthy. But if you take a sunflower seed and then you press it into making it into an oil and it goes through this process, you're taking out all the fiber, you're taking out the good fats, and you're left with the bad fats, and it's such an imbalance in the oil. And so this is what trips up the brain and the nervous system, and this is what causes this imbalance, and then people are experiencing mental health issues because of it. So things like canola, sunflower seed oil. So a lot of people are like, well, I'm eating sunflower seed butter, isn't that healthy? And it is, but then the oil is just not, because of the process that it's gone through. And with the Earth Diet, I'm always teaching people, go back to nature, go back to the beginning. What is nature providing naturally? You can't go out to nature, into your own backyard, and pick some sunflower seed oil or canola oil off your garden. You have to take the actual plant, and then it goes through a big process to get it into the oil, to get it into your hands. So it's really refined, and it's been heavily processed. And so staying away from those things. It's really simple at the end of the day of like, okay, here's the group of foods that are natural that you can eat, that are safe and healthy and delicious and amazing. And then here are the foods just stay away from. They're controversial, they cause toxicity, inflammation. So it's really simple these days. It really is black and white. And as long as people have the alternatives, I call replacement therapy, then it makes it so much easier. So I say to my clients, okay, what are you missing? Oh, you love fried chicken? Me too. Here's a recipe for it you can make at home. Or here's a restaurant you can go to that actually make it super clean with using avocado oil instead of seed oils, or they're using coconut oil.
And what's interesting, I was in Spain at the end of last year and went and toured an olive oil facility, and now we see olive oil, extra virgin olive oil, coconut oil, avocado oil, like you said, and even butter and ghee in some circles, tallow, things like this, as more stable fats, as potentially healthier fats. There's some debate between some of those fats, but ultimately they're the better ones, and the poorer quality ones are these more highly volatile seed oils that have been, like you said, refined and produced in a way that causes sometimes some damage to the fat itself. But one of the things I found interesting was at this plant, they had a very ancient olive oil extraction machine, and they were talking about how this was one of the oldest olive oil extraction machines in the world. It was like a little museum, and they were explaining it to me, and it was only like 100 years old. And I was like, wow, we really don't have that long a history in extracting oils. This is a very short period of time. And the extraction methods before that would have been very rudimentary, or we were extracting probably whale oil, right? And using it to light our streets. This is what we were doing before that. So I feel like we haven't extracted oil for very long. So it does make sense to try consume it in its whole form more. So eat olives, eat avocados, things like this. Is that generally what you recommend?
Totally. I recommend thinking about it like an Indigenous person. And, I grew up in Alice Springs, which you
Mhm.
know of since you're an Aussie. And, there are a lot of people out there who know about Alice Springs, but a lot of people don't. And my school was half Aboriginal, half white. And so, I was fortunate enough to learn from age of 5. I can remember that the healthiest way for us to eat is to go out to our own backyard or the bush or a garden and eat food straight from the garden. And so these foods are whole foods. They're not
Mm.
processed. They're not even avocado oil or coconut oil. That's a next step in processing. So the more you can just source your everything from whole foods, the better off you're going to be. You're going to be healthy. You're going to feel great. You're going to look great. I mean, that is ultimately the healthiest way for us to eat. But these days we all live such a fast-paced lifestyle, and we live in this modern lifestyle. So, think as indigenous as possible or be as natural as possible in this modern world. But if you're craving fats, for sure, if you can eat half an avocado or a whole avocado, that's
Yeah.
perfect. Instead of having to go out and, eat something that's been cooked in avocado oil, for example. And that's still healthier, but the healthiest option is always the whole food option.
And I guess as well, because these types of refined seed oils, canola oil, safflower, sunflower, rapeseed, etc., do cause inflammation in the body, and of course are going to cause inflammation in our organs, which are made of fat, which is the brain. So the brain is made of fat. So if we're inflaming our brain, it makes sense that it could lead to things like anxiety. What do you find are some of the top sort of anxiety producing foods? You've mentioned seed oils and junk foods. Are there any sort of other specific foods that people should put on their no eat list if they suffer from anxiety?
Yeah, well, the bad fats, the fast foods, and those fats we just talked about, the seed oils, that's number 2. Actually, number 1 that causes anxiety, and I'm sure it's no surprise to you and a lot of you guys listening, is refined sugar. So white sugar and corn syrup is the number 1 anxiogenic food in the world across the board. And so you can't not get some kind of anxiety after eating that. There's a negative backlash. The nervous system is just not created to process that, or the brain. It's just too much. It's way too much. You go out to your own backyard and pick some honey or have some fruit straight from the garden. The nervous system uses that as fuel and energy, and so does the brain. Loves it, loves that kind of natural sugar. But as soon as you eat refined sugar that's just so compounded, so processed, it doesn't know what to do with it. So you have this excess of energy in your body, and so it's creating that anxiety. And if you do that often enough, then you start to create anxiety disorder.
Yeah, powerful. I'm familiar with some research where they connected continuous blood glucose monitoring equipment to people that were suffering from anxiety and panic attacks, and the correlation between a severe slump in blood sugar and a panic attack was quite close. And so they made this assumption that, yeah, if you're spiking your blood sugar, it's on the downward spiral where it can lead to these issues. So that makes a lot of sense.
And depressive
So
disorder as well.
yeah, and what about if people are looking to eat foods to prevent anxiety? That makes a lot of sense if people can get on the front foot here. What have you found in your research of the top foods that people can eat to prevent anxiety or panic attacks?
Yeah, prevent and also to reduce and also heal. I'm a big believer in you can heal anything. That's actually a possibility. So the top foods, well, number 1 out of all the research I did. So whenever I'm doing my books, I want to know the top 10 foods in each category. And so I really went to town researching, and from all the research I found, the top anxiolytic is dark leafy greens. So spinach, and you've got spirulina and chlorella in there as well. And you've got broccoli in there, broccoli sprouts. And the common thread in all of this is chlorophyll. Chlorophyll is such a great compound. And I'm so glad that chlorophyll water went viral on TikTok and Instagram. Finally, chlorophyll's having its day. So that's an easy hack to do every day. Every human can do that. It costs 10 cents to make a chlorophyll water in 5 seconds. Just drop 13 drops into a cup of water, and you can get it that way. The very basics, but eating dark leafy greens and then also drinking your dark leafy greens in a smoothie or a juice. If you just have one of those every single day, you will notice your anxiety be reduced. You will. You can't not have a green juice every day and not notice a difference. You will feel better, lighter. Your nervous system is more regulated. Your brain is happier, more switched on, more energized. It's such a great feeling. So dark leafy greens takes home first place.
That's cool. I love hearing that. And I guess also you get that crossover effect with broccoli or the broccoli sprouts with the anti-cancer effects, which we'll get to in a little bit longer. What sort of other sort of general dietary recommendations? So we've got reduced seed oils or processed refined seed oils, reduced fast foods, reduce refined sugar, and eat more leafy greens. Are there anything else on the list of to do or to avoid for anxiety or mental health conditions related to anxiety?
Yeah, I would say the next approach is the bio-individual approach. And I have these lists in my books. So the bio-individual approach is where you look at certain foods can help reduce anxiety for you, but maybe not for someone else. So on this list is things like cacao, so chocolate. So for example, I've eaten cacao every day for the last 13 years. And cacao is my medicine, and that helps me to reduce stress and anxiety. But for some people, cacao or chocolate can actually trigger a bit of anxiety. And it's the same with coffee. So coffee for some people, one a day, if so, it can reduce stress for a lot of people, coffee. And I do look at it as like, it is a gift from God. We have coffee beans, they're natural, but for some people it can really trigger anxiety. So those people should stay away from coffee, or add a fat to the coffee, like add some coconut oil or some ghee to the coffee to help balance it out so you're not getting that crazy spike. And then also goes the same for fermented foods. For some, reduces anxiety, it's excellent. Others, it'll trigger anxiety. Also, dairy is bio-individual as well. So milk, cheese, yogurt. I personally, if I eat dairy, I'm experiencing anxiety, whereas some people it can help to reduce. So just have a look at the bio-individual approach for those certain foods. And yeah, there's more of a list in there too. Alcohol is another one. Alcohol can help reduce for some, but others it can trigger it. So you really want to look at your health as a very customizable approach and figure out, okay, these are the absolute no list. This is the yes list. And then this is the list in the middle that's very bio-individual, customized to you.
Nice. I like that. And I think also within some of those categories, there's a lot of nuance as well. Like even within dairy, like some people can tolerate dairy, some people cannot. Some people can tolerate yogurt or kefir because it's been fermented, or really hard cheeses, and some people can't tolerate any. Some people can tolerate raw dairy, or unpasteurized, unhomogenized dairy, and other people cannot. So within each of those food groups, and then also like within fermented foods, people who have some even SIBO, that small intestinal bacteria overgrowth, or certain types of stomach issues might not do great on fermented foods straight away. They need to do more gut healing first. So yeah, that's great that you mentioned that. And I think people with good quality access to education, which we're providing more of now with our nutrition certification program, that inside programs like that, and as you research more, you start to realize that I actually might need to do some testing myself with some of these foods and see how they feel once you've cleaned your body out. So that's a great suggestion. Thank you for that. If we look at the gut, I mean, I want to make a bridge now a little bit between anxiety and then to cancer. So anxiety is a disease, a mental affliction. Cancer is a metabolic affliction, and they sort of cross over a little bit. I'd say the gut is a good meeting ground. Having written these books and doing the work that you've done, what have you found in terms of the connection between the gut and immune system and mental health, etc., in particular?
Yeah, well, experts that I follow and respect say that 70% of the immune system is in the gut, and it is where we process everything, and in terms of emotions and also food. And so I'm a big believer in, if you have a healthy gut, you will have a healthy body and a healthy brain and a healthy life. So the gut is definitely a good place to start. And that's where I started. So after I left the outback, having this most amazing natural life, I found myself at university in Brizzy, and I was eating all the 7-Eleven fast food, doing this for 5 years. And then I ended up with a 3.7 centimeter tumor in my lymphatic, in my throat. And so I went to see a naturopath because I was already naturally inclined to treat it naturally rather than the medical route. So she had me work with a functional doctor, and they said, it's in your lymph, but it's all in your gut. Once we clean out your gut, your lymph will start to drain and you can completely heal naturally. And so I believe this totally. It totally made sense to me. It resonated truth to me. And so that's what I was focusing on. And if your lymphatic system is blocked, then your gut is also blocked. If your gut's blocked, your lymphatic system is. And actually, some of the studies that I put in my book shows that one of the causes of anxiety is poor gut health. And so people with IBS, or just being bloated all the time, just not eating the right foods, then you will have a symptom of anxiety. There are a lot of emotional reasons to have anxiety too, maybe childhood trauma and things like this, but actually a lot of anxiety is coming purely from physical reasons, purely from the foods that we eat. I was mind blown to see that. So if you have poor gut health, then that could be one of the reasons that you're having anxiety. That's one of the symptoms. And so I went to town detoxing my gut, doing colonics, coffee enemas, drinking beet juice every day, drinking green juice every day, so many dark leafy greens. And then this is when I created the earth diet, because I had so many cravings. And a lot of the cravings come from the gut, especially if we have candida overgrowth, which is from eating too much yeast or wheat or sugar. Then it's not really us that's craving it, because logically we can say, okay, I never want to eat this candy again or these lollies again if it's going to damage my health, or I never want to eat fast food again. But something else overrides and takes over. And so this craving, this impulse comes from the gut, and it's used to it at this point. And this is also from science. It's called cellular memory. So then all of a sudden the gut's craving all this food, and it becomes this vicious cycle. And so changing that cellular memory with doing the detox and then drinking these juices and then creating the earth diet. So every time I had these cravings, I thought, okay, well, how can I eat fries or chocolate or cookies, but in a more natural, healthy way? And so that's when the earth diet came into play, of like, okay, I can still eat it, but I have to find a natural way to do it so I can make it at home using these wholesome ingredients. And then that fulfilled the craving. And then I was able to change my cellular memory. I was able to completely heal and transform my gut. And it's incredible, because now I'm 35 and I was 21 at that point, and I look better than I did at 21. My digestive system is amazing, especially compared to then. It's the best it's ever been. And, I like how it looks in the mirror. Now, before, when I used to look in the mirror, I used to think, oh, my gut just looks horrid. And now I can look in the mirror and feel like super comfortable with how I look, I can wear a bikini and not feel like really bad about it, because I have a really healthy gut, and that leads to a healthy brain. So it's all connected. And also, a lot of experts say that our brain is our gut and our gut is our brain. So our gut, they say, is a second brain. It's just a different type of brain, and it really is.
Are you suffering from gut issues, an autoimmune condition, chronic pain, imbalanced hormones, and you just can't seem to find a solution? Well, you're not alone. If you're listening to this podcast, you likely value your health, your well-being, energy, and vitality. And at Food Matters, we believe that your body is worthy of good care, and that there's nobody more suitably qualified to care for it than yourself, which is why we have created the Food Matters Nutrition Certification Program. This program is designed to improve and increase your knowledge when it comes to important topics around the gut, autoimmune conditions, balancing hormones, detoxification. Plus, it really has helped me cut through the confusion about what to eat and avoid when there's so many different dietary philosophies out there, from veganism to paleo to plant-based to whole foods to wild foods to qualitarian, who knows these days. We have assembled some of the brightest minds in nutrition and natural healing, including experts like David Wolf, Dr. Livy Weaver, Mark Hyman, Dr. Alejandro Junger, and so many more. To find out more about how you can join us on this program and become a certified nutrition coach to help heal yourself, loved ones, or even help take this message to more people by working with people one-on-one or starting your own wellness business, you can find out more at foodmatters.com/study. Again, that's foodmatters.com/study.
Powerful the way that you've connected all that together. And I even noticed with my dad when he was at his sickest and suffering from anxiety, depression, panic attacks, chronic fatigue syndrome, he had like a lot of impacted fecal matter. He had that big bloated sort of belly that we typically see with a lot of men in Australia, the beer belly, and was inflamed. His body was inflamed. There was a lot of gluten consumption, a lot of animal products, a lot of sugar, a lot of refined sugar, refined processed dairy. And really, when I think about it, we changed his diet, and then the health of his gut changed. And as the health of his gut changed, that changed everything else in his body and his life. So it's really beautiful you made that connection as well. Talk to me. So you had this tumor in your sort of lymphatic system. So you were first sort of applying what was like an anti-cancer type diet. I know that you've written a book on the anti-cancer diet. We've spoken about this before. We've done an interview before, so that's cool. But I'd love if we could touch on it again. What are some of the, the top cancer preventing foods that people can eat on a daily basis to protect themselves from cancer if they have it in their family, or even if they potentially have cancer and they're looking to just improve their diet? What do you recommend?
Yeah, well, this list is in my book, Cancer Free with Food, and it's for prevention and healing. So, well, number one is dark leafy greens. Again, they take first place because, they're just so powerful. They have the chlorophyll, they put oxygen into the body, they alkalize the body. But the number one dark leafy green on earth that helps to heal cancer and also prevent is broccoli sprouts. Broccoli sprouts are amazing. They're tiny, but they're superhero powers, really, really high in sulforaphane. And sulforaphane kills cancer cells. It's incredible. Every study they've done on rodents and humans, when they inject sulforaphane or consume sulforaphane, no tumor or cancer cells can hold its form. They've all reduced or completely being blasted away. So wow. I find that this study, I wish this was more mainstream, and I wish that everyone knew about it, because then every single person's going to start sprouting broccoli sprouts at home or start buying them and eating them. So I did not use broccoli sprouts during my healing because I didn't know about it, but I would have been juicing them for sure every day. But now that I know about it, I'm consuming them all the time. So when I'm at home, I'm drinking one green juice every single day. So that was a promise I made to myself after I healed, was that, why would I not have one green juice every single day? Now that I have this health back and I feel amazing, I've been healed and transformed, I'm going to do this green juice every day. And I've done that for 13 years. I've maybe missed 5 days accidentally from traveling, but I have a greens powder with broccoli sprouts in it. So that helps. So I'm juicing broccoli sprouts. I'm also putting it on soups and smoothies. And then I have the powder, the broccoli sprout powder. And so just adding that into water and just drinking that. And it's bitter, but the sulforaphane is bitter, but you can know that it's helping to prevent cancer because it's killing those cancer cells. And if you have cancer or anyone has cancer, please let them know to start consuming broccoli sprouts immediately. And, the powder is a great hack if you can't get your hands on fresh ones, but you can easily grow them yourself. Just YouTube it, or maybe, James, we can do a video next time I'm in Australia in your studio. We can show people how to sprout broccoli sprouts. That would be so fun.
That'd be cool. That'd be really great. Broccoli sprouts is obviously the beginning of a broccoli, right? So it's the beginning of a broccoli like vegetable, and that's part of the brassica family, or this sort of cruciferous vegetable family, which encompasses things like cauliflower or even kohlrabi, I believe, and then you've got the Romanesque, that incredible like sacred geometry vegetable that you often find in the US but hardly anywhere else in the world. Is there other forms of sulforaphane that you recommend people get? I mean, obviously broccoli sprouts are probably the highest, but are there any other vegetables that have this particular active phytochemical, and how can people find other places?
Yeah, so broccoli, like you mentioned, kale, cauliflower, those dark leafy greens that you mentioned, they have sulforaphane. But broccoli sprouts, even though they're tiny, have 50 times more than a serving of broccoli. So it definitely is better to get it from that way. But definitely eating broccoli as well. That's one of the top anti-cancer foods and cruciferous vegetables, like you said. And I also love it because it's Christ cruciferous. So they say that any cruciferous vegetables are so pure, Christ energy, like Christ consciousness, very high vibrational. So eat as many of those as you can. And the fiber is great also for the gut, for digestion. So yeah, you can definitely get it from those places as well.
Nice. Or juice it, like you said. That's really interesting. I haven't juiced broccoli sprouts before, but I would love to try it out. And something else you said, which I find is really beautifully connected to like herbal medicine, is this idea of bitter medicine, and things that are bitter typically transmute a medicinal component. And that's why we have this idea of, like a spoonful of honey will help the medicine go down, or this bitter medicine term, because typically these foods are going to taste like that. So that's your number one recommendation. I love it. Thank you. What about two, three, four, five? What else should people be eating for an anti-cancer diet?
So really good healthy fats. So walnuts, and that's also great for reducing anxiety as well. And in the doctrine of signatures, or back in the indigenous days, they used to find their medicines based on what looked like in nature, looked like the organ. So if they were trying to heal the gut or focus on the gut, things like ginger replicates the gut, or the brain, walnuts replicate the brain. And so walnut, really good healthy omega-3s, also chia seeds as well, and flaxseed. Flaxseed is bio-individual. You have to talk to your nutritionist. Say talk to your doctor. You should talk to your doctor, but talk to your functional doctor, because if you have a regular doctor, chances are they don't know anything about nutrition, and you do have a right to ask them, how much did you study nutrition? How much do you know about nutrition? And if they say 0 to 4 hours in their 12 years of medical school, you do not have to take their nutrition advice. And please don't, because doctors are telling people these days, like, you can have Coca-Cola or caffeine with your chemo. So no, but flax is generally good for reducing cancer risk or healing, but it is more bio-individual. And then I do want to add cacao powder. So cacao is number 9 on my list. So there's so many studies with cacao and it reducing tumors in the brain and the digestive system. And a big reason is because it's so high in magnesium, and it's anxiolytic and help reduce anxiety. And also it has so many antioxidants. It has 50 times more antioxidants than blueberries. So if you are craving chocolate and you're thinking, oh, I should be preventing cancer, I shouldn't be craving it, or I have cancer, I shouldn't be craving chocolate. No, you're craving it for a reason. And the Egyptians, the Mayans, the indigenous people all around the world used to worship cacao beans and saw it as a gift from God. And they used to even use it as currency. It's so highly valued, and they would use it in spiritual ceremonies because it really can have such a powerful effect on the body. Again, it's bio-individual. So if you like chocolate or you don't. But chocolate was a huge part of my healing, and I actually ate 20 chocolate balls a day when I was healing, which seems like excess. Now I couldn't eat 20 in a day if I tried. But back then, I was healing also a big food addiction to, I was eating so much chocolate, Cadbury chocolate, regular chocolate with sugar and dairy, and that kind of chocolate will give you cancer. But I was eating the wrong kind. So as soon as I switched to cacao and I was making my own chocolate balls with almond flour and cacao powder, some honey, I was eating now medicinal chocolate. And so my body just couldn't get enough of it. It was like, wow, all this nutrients from chocolate. And it also is great for weight loss too. So it helped me lose a bunch of weight.
That's amazing. So chocolate is on the maybe list. But like you said, biochemical individuality. So check if it works for you, and also the quality. of the processing is super important. So dairy free, sugar free, refined sugar free would be ideal. Now, I think when we spoke last time, also blueberries were on your list, like these high antioxidant foods. They're still on the list, I'm assuming. Is that right?
Oh, yeah. Yep, blueberries. We cannot forget about blueberries. Blueberries are the greatest fruit on earth. Let me say the greatest mainstream fruit because there are a lot of indigenous fruits that we don't even know about that aren't in the media. The Kakadu plum from Australia, so much vitamin C, like tons more than orange, but we don't really know about it yet. It's not commercialized. So blueberries are the most easily accessible fruit on earth that is the healthiest. It doesn't raise your blood sugar levels too high. It is lower in sugar. It's so high in antioxidants and vitamins. It's got vitamin C, immune boosting. So if you are craving sweets or lollies, candy, eat a bunch of blueberries. And even now, I'll eat a whole punnet of blueberries as a serving, as a snack. And it's such a great snack. It can just take the edge off and get you through till your next meal.
I love it. That's really cool. And there's also these like wild blueberries that are like smaller and tiny, and you can find them frozen in the frozen section in Australia. I also buy them in the US too. And having frozen berries is such a blessing because you can use them in smoothies. You can just sit them out in a bowl and let them defrost slowly and then just eat them. Or I'll typically put a few tablespoons in water and it'll just turn the water blue and make the water a tiny little bit sweet, and I'll drink it down and then I get to eat the blueberries at the bottom. So there's so many different ways that you can go about that.
I love that. That's that's awesome. That's like infused waters are so good, and I think infused waters are gonna blow up a bit more because you can just add a little bit of strawberry puree to the water, and all of a sudden you have this water, but with this tiny little bit of hint of strawberry puree or blueberry puree. And with the frozen berries you were talking about, are you talking about bilberries?
Well, is that a brand? I'm just talking about like wild blueberries. They're just the tiny ones. Is that a different type of blueberry then?
Yeah, so bilberry is actually one of the top ingredients I have in my supplement, Anxiety Free, and I have it in there because it's a wild blueberry. It's like a
Mm.
cousin of blueberries, but it has a ton more antioxidants and nutrients in it than a blueberry.
Nice, amazing. So, with cancer, what other general recommendations do you have on that list in terms of foods to avoid?
Foods to avoid. So with cancer, the immune system is compromised. So you want to avoid anything that is going to take a lot of energy from your body to have to process or eliminate. So you want to remove inflammatory foods. So when I was healing, I removed gluten, and I believe that everyone with cancer should remove gluten.
Mm.
And I understand it's a huge craving factor for a lot of people, but it's just not worth it. It takes so much energy from the body to digest gluten. So rye, so breads, pastas, cakes, cookies, all that processed
Mm.
stuff. This is why I have so many recipes, James, because I want to make sure people like aren't dying in the process or missing all their pleasurable things. So it's like you can still have cookies and cakes, but these types made with different types of flours, not wheat flour. It's just so inflammatory. It's so heavy on the gut, and the lymphatic system straight away has to go to work, and it's just too much work for your body when you're healing cancer. You want to really use all the energy you have. You don't want to use your reserves for digesting food. And then the same is for dairy as well. I know dairy is controversial, but it is inflammatory. If you have cancer, you're better off to just eliminate it. Try eliminate it for 7 days and then tell me, okay, do you feel better or worse? Every single person I've ever talked to always feels better not having dairy when they are healing cancer. And
Mm.
then refined sugar, of course, as well. You want to cut that out. And you don't have to cut all sugars. You can have blueberries, and then also you can have some honey as well. Depends what type of cancer. It's a bit of bioindividuality there as well. And basically you want to cut processed foods,
Mm.
as much as possible, and go back to nature, eat more whole foods that are coming straight from nature. And you want to cut alcohol because it does suppress the immune system. There are hacks though, because I know some people with cancer are going through strong impulses or cravings. So if someone finds himself, okay, oops, I had some bread or I had some lollies or some candy, something that's not going to help, have a green juice after, a beet juice after, have some chlorophyll or some activated charcoal, help your body out to digest that food and get rid of the inflammation.
Nice. It's interesting that there's this connection between anxiety and cancer, because inflammatory foods, sugar, refined sugar, highly processed foods are problematic for both conditions. And that's really says a lot about the body, doesn't it? That the body is going to manifest illness if it has poor inputs and if it's in poor health. And it could manifest as depression or anxiety, or it could manifest as cancer, it could manifest as heart disease, something like this. But incredible link, the sugar component in particular. I guess you found that connection between higher sugar consumption and just about every other type of illness you've researched too.
Yeah, sugar takes first place in everything. I mean, sugar is the biggest killer on earth. They really need to take it out of schools. I wish it was illegal, actually. If you look at all the studies and things like that, it should be illegal. It's more addictive than drugs. And it's destroying everyone's health if they're eating it all the time, or if they feel like they're a slave to it, addicted to it. It's creating eczema, psoriasis. And if someone is genetically exposed to having certain illness or disease, then eating refined sugar is the first thing that's going to trigger those genes. And that's what happened to me. Cancer is in my genes. And so I triggered it from the fast food and the sugar. Sugar was the main thing, and the bad fats that I was eating.
Yeah, it's interesting what you say about, banning sugar. We tax cigarettes in particular in Australia. Like, I remember there was a friend of mine that came from South Africa, and she smoked, and she went to buy a packet of cigarettes, and it's ridiculously expensive in Australia now, which is because they've taxed it so much, and it has these huge warning labels, and they actually cover the entire cigarette section now behind the checkout so that people can't see any brands, or there's no advertising allowed in sports. So in Australia, for that matter, they've gone very heavy on this anti smoking sort of campaign. And I think there's a lot of chemicals in tobacco, in refined processed tobacco. But then, there's traditional cultures that use tobacco leaf in ceremony. So we have to always be thinking full spectrum here, that there maybe is healthy ways to interact with tobacco. And then I've been at a dinner party where Dave Asprey's like, open your mouth, and he sprayed nicotine into my mouth, and he's like, this is one of the most high performance enhancing drugs. It's just that we need to extract the nicotine and not have all the other things in there. So there's some really interesting perspectives on I think everything. However, the jury is quite consistent that processed refined sugar consumed in mass by just about every human on planet Earth is very dangerous. And I don't mind your idea about banning it. Maybe we should just, there's been talk about taxing sugar in the US a number of years ago. I remember there was a mayor in New York. I don't think that got anywhere, but is there any more talk about any legislation changes in the US around taxing sugar or putting restrictions in place?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, it's such a strong system here with the farming and the money and the government. It's so tied in together, they're in bed together. So I think that's going to be a long road, but I don't think it's impossible, because if you look at what's been going on and, look at the tobacco and the cigarette companies, they never imagined in the beginning that it would lead to this this reduction of sales and this ban and this tax. So I don't think it's impossible. And it's definitely a movement I would love to be part of and really get into. So, we'll have to see. And it's exciting for anyone listening to this who is eating refined white sugar. If you cut back or give it out completely, I would suggest cut it out completely. You will change your life. You will notice a huge difference in your health and your mental state. You will feel so much more energy. You'll feel amazing. You'll feel more stable as well. I mean, sure, if I eat, James, if I eat a tablespoon of white sugar right now, it's not going to kill me, obviously, because I'm so healthy at this point because of all the work I've done and this consistent juicing and eating healthy for 13 years now. But if I was to eat that every day over time, I would start to see changes, and also very quickly as well. Like, you eat a tablespoon of sugar, your immune system's down for 8 hours. It takes you 8 hours for it to come back up. And that's if you don't have an autoimmune issue. So it just is such a waste of our time. And the only way I was able to cut out refined sugar from my diet was say, okay, what can I eat instead when I'm craving sugar? Oh, blueberries, amazing. Fruit, oh, I can have fruit, honey, I can have maple syrup, I have coconut sugar, some dates, all those natural, beautiful sweeteners. And if you're thinking, oh, I don't really like those, eventually your body will get used to it, cellular memory. Because now if I do happen to taste something that has refined white sugar, I taste it, I'm like, wow, that does not fulfill me at all. It tastes awful, actually. Yeah. It's such a big difference. Whereas my 21-year-old self would have been like, wow, this tastes so amazing. And so it is really exciting for people who are able to give it up and change their life. And, I'm not surprised that Dave Asprey did that. That sounds like a very Dave Asprey thing to do. So going back to the indigenous part of it, they did eat natural sugars. They also used tobacco in ceremonies and healing. And I've also used tobacco in my own healing, but not the type that's got all this chemicals and all the crazy stuff. The nicotine is, I did research nicotine in regards to anxiety. I wrote about it in my anxiety book, actually. Nicotine can be healing for anxiety, for mental health. But the studies that I found, it was only really helpful between 1 and 3 months. And then you need to take a break and let your brain not have the nicotine. Otherwise, it can get used to it and then it becomes a dependence. So 1 to 3 months, you can use it. But after that, then take a break from it. But the indigenous people use it. And, they lived a long time before white men came along. So we can definitely look to them and what they did and look at their wisdom.
That's beautiful. No, yeah. And I think everything needs context too. And even when we talk about, well, all processed food is bad, well, not really, because think about it. When we make a juice, we process that food. We just process it in a more natural way, or if we ferment food, that's a form of processing. It's a form of pickling, preserving, canning, fermenting, but that can be done in a way that actually boosts the product and makes it more healthy. Versus sort of mainstream manufacturing. I guess probably just coming up to as we end here, tell me a little bit about your morning rituals, because you've worked a lot on your health over, like you said, the past 13, 15 years in particular, since your health scare. And I find that people's rituals tell me a lot about how they brought their knowledge into practical application. And you talk about this idea of having a green juice or a green powder every day. So I know that already. So you can mention that again if you like. But talk me through sort of your more ideal day if you wake up and what you do. And then talk me through the things, real talk. What do you not do all the time? Which ones do you do some of the time, so that people can feel like they're getting the real version too. I don't just want the perfect version. I want the sort of, here's the perfect version and here's when I'm a busy version. So that'd be nice.
Yeah, totally. I love that. Okay, so the ideal version would be, so I wake up in the morning. I do like to fast actually in the morning. I prefer not to eat anything as soon as I get up, because I feel like I don't want my body in digestion mode straight away. I can get tired. I definitely have more energy and I'm more focused when I fast for breakfast. So I prefer just to have a lunch and a dinner and have some snacks in between, or I'll just be having snacks and then a dinner. But my snacks might be, blueberries and an avocado, for example, as a snack. So I do like to have a lot of plant-based days. I'm blood type A chemistry, and I do believe in the chemistry of the blood. My blood type O clients, I would say, you have to have some animal protein, clean animal protein every day. But I'm an A, so definitely thrive being more plant-based. So I might have a huge, vegetable stir fry with some chickpea pasta for dinner. I love the Explore Cuisine organic chickpea pasta. It's so delicious. It's got as much protein as what I can, with vegetables and hemp seeds, I could make with a chicken breast and veggies. So I love having that for dinner, and then, or lunch. And then I always have a bit of chocolate as well, cacao powder. So I've got my favorite brands that I'm always eating. Sometimes if I'm on the go, I will literally just eat pure cacao, 100% cacao, just to get that, the stimulant. And I do drink usually a tea every day, like a matcha tea or a ginger tea every single day. And then I mentioned I have the green drink every day. So that's the first thing I break my fast with always is the green drink. So if I'm at home, it's a fresh juice. Or if I'm traveling, it's a greens powder mixed in water. My supplement that I mentioned has 10 ingredients. 2 of them are green, so chlorella and spirulina. So I break them open when I'm on the road, drop them in water, and then I have a green drink that's also for anxiety. It has ashwagandha in it as well. Mm-hmm. So I'll break the fast with that. And I also love to have just like super clean, like going back to indigenous eating, which was, for the indigenous people I was surrounded with, kangaroo and bush vegetables, right? Or nuts and seeds. So I love to have some organic chicken or some wild salmon or some wild snapper. And every now and then I'll have grass-fed beef, but I love just having a protein with some vegetables or a salad. And I do eat fruit every day as well. So eating lots of fruit, see tons of antioxidants there. And I don't have room in my diet then for gluten or dairy. I rarely eat soy, maybe organic soy once a month. And yeah, so it's filled up with so many veggies and clean protein and the juice. I also love acai bowls and smoothies. So sometimes that will be my lunch as well, like a big smoothie or a big acai bowl. And then when I'm traveling on the go, it's similar. If I can find these places like restaurants, or a lot of my friends are very supportive of this. They live the same lifestyle, so we can eat at different restaurants or cafes. We can usually find an organic acai bowl somewhere. But sometimes if I'm traveling on the planes, I'm eating snacks for dinner, which isn't ideal. I'll try and pack my food as much as possible. But sometimes I'm eating a turkey stick and some non-GMO veggie chips for dinner if I'm traveling. So not ideal, but doing the best I can. And that's another thing I would love to see change is the food in the airports. It's just, It's so normalized in the airports how unhealthy it is. It's so disturbing that it's normal because there's literally no options in some of the biggest airports in the world. It just drives me nuts. But the one thing that I don't do enough of that I need to do is to chew my food slower. Mm. And this is also a reason why I don't like to have 3 meals a day, because I don't have 3 hours a day to sit there eating food and chewing super slow. So I know from body checkups and tests and things that I'm not chewing slow enough. So, chewing something, especially meat, like 33 times, like really slow. I'm Australian, but I've lived in New York for 11 years. So I got into this like New York busy hustle lifestyle. So it was like, okay, let's go, let's eat. Whereas, I really realized to go back to nature and the indigenous people, like they used to have ceremonies around their food and eat so slow and really enjoy it. Then we're getting better absorption and better digestion. And so that's not something that I do very often at all, but I am working on that for sure.
Yeah, that's amazing. I'm glad you're working on that. And sometimes I need to as well, working on my chewing habits and eating speed. But I'm sure lots of people will get a lot from just everything you've shared there. It was really practical, really amazing. But tell me, what do you put in your green juice? What is your favorite green juice recipe?
Yeah, my favorite one, I'm sorry if it sounds boring, but it's celery, cucumber, and then I do lemon and ginger. So those 4 basic ingredients, and then I add the broccoli sprouts. So there's no fruit in there other than the lemon. It's a bit bitter from the broccoli sprouts, not too bitter though. The ginger and the lemon help balance everything out. It's so hydrating. That's my go-to recipe. But I will tell you, in the beginning, 13 years ago when I started, I could not drink that juice. I would have been like, ew, this is awful. I would have had to need green apple or some red apple or some watermelon, some kind of sweetener in it. But yeah, that's my go-to these days.
I love it. Well, this morning I don't have access to celery here in Vanuatu, but I do have access to lots of cucumbers. So I've been juicing cucumber, lime, lemon, ginger, and turmeric, and that is so nice. I don't know, there's just something about it. Like you say, the lime and the ginger, or the lime and the turmeric, sort of create a little bit of a sweet and a spice. And then if I can't get the kids to drink it, I'll open a coconut and then pour it through the juicer just at the end, the coconut water, and that'll get them like, oh, I'll have some now, So sometimes you have to sweeten the medicine a little bit to help it go down. So anyway, Liana, it's been so nice to connect with you. So nice to chat again. Thank you so much for sharing all your wisdom and just your experience around your research and your personal journey. I just love hearing how practical you make everything. And if people want to find out more, make sure to check out the books Anxiety Free with Food and Cancer Free with Food by Liana, and also the Earth Diet. You can find out more about her there. So great to chat with you, Liana. Have a magical day and enjoy the rest of your time in Cenoviv in Mexico.
Thanks so much, James, for having me. Food matters. Yeah.
Yeah. Ciao, ciao.
For everything that we've mentioned in today's episode, you can check out the show notes. There will be links and information there for you. And before I go, I just wanted to say thank you so much for taking the time to invest in yourself and be here for this podcast. If there's anybody that you can think of who could benefit from this information, please make sure to share it with them. We believe in the power of life-changing information, and it's especially powerful when it's shared from a trusted source. And finally, if you could leave us a comment or make sure to subscribe to the podcast, we would greatly appreciate that. It helps us continue to bring you this life-changing information, and make sure that you get all future podcast updates sent to you. Have a beautiful day, and thank you once again.